serious, what trait or characteristic do you think is your fatal flaw and how has it gotten you in trouble? Overthinking and therefore not being able to make decisions. I have a slightly lesser version of this in which my decisions do come, they just take forever and then some. That is if someone asks, do you want tea? My mind goes, do I want tea? I'm about to go upstairs gaming, but I suppose I could take it along. Although, I also plan to bring a glass of Coke and a can of energy drink, so maybe it will be too much and I will have to pee too soon. Not, it'll be fine. I'll have the tea, and meanwhile the other person is still standing there, not establishing proper boundaries. This is the root problem for issues like being too nice or being taken advantage of. The beginning of a relationship, whether it's a work relationship or a romantic one, is when to establish what lines shouldn't be crossed. Oftentimes, I went above and beyond in a new relationship, not expecting anything in return, only to find that people always expected above, beyond and much more. They gave little or nothing in return, and to make matters worse, felt victimized or personally slighted if I wasn't willing to bend over backwards for them. With this also comes not being able to stand up, speak for myself. Even when a situation or person makes me extremely uncomfortable, instead of assertively letting people know I pent up all my emotions, and then starts the cycle of brooding about it, crying, getting angry, and behaving in passive-aggressive ways. Not to add the resentment I feel towards these people. It would save so much trouble if only I could just say what you are doing is making me uncomfortable. This is now how I want to be treated. Being too nice patient. I've definitely been taken advantage of before with helping people out and then they would assume I'd always be willing to help. And then when you try to be assertive everyone just calls you an asshole for putting yourself first for once. Fucking this. I've been the nice guy my whole life and taken advantage of, stolen from, used, abused, etc. Eventually a little after college I had enough and reinvent myself. Go to the gym, eat healthier, work longer shifts, etc. Now naturally this comes with a whole new attitude. I'm way more confident in myself, I stand up for myself and I'm not necessarily a dick but I'm very assertive in certain things. All of a sudden you've changed. What happened to the old Arxa Deerfly 500 etc. et al. People are only nice to you when they can use you when they can use you. Indecisiveness and fear of what people will think once I make a decision or form a stance. I envy people who can do this confidently and not care so much and I'm trying to get better at it. I play my cards to my chest. Makes it hard when you struggle to be honest with yourself. I have the opposite problem. I play my cards face up on the table. Bad strat in a game of Urs. I get bored of talking. So, if someone asks me a question that requires an answer longer than a sentence my voice becomes monotone and I just lose interest in what I have to say. Other people can tell and then get bored themselves and don't talk to me a lot after that. Hasn't gotten me in trouble yet, but has definitely made connecting with others difficult. However, I like it because I'm introverted and don't like talking to people to begin with, but I think being able to talk to people without turning off would be a very useful trait to have in life. Growing comfortable in isolation and as a result isolating myself from others even more. Same here. I really have to force myself to be social on a regular basis and I still have trouble forming friendships because I'm so comfortable in isolation. It's hard because I do want to have friends but I have long periods in which I don't feel like talking to anyone. Hating conflict. I have knee-jerk instinct to try to appease in order to defuse angry situations. I have been working on it, but I'm still not great at being okay with someone being angry with me or disliking me. Timidity. I live an inauthentic life because I'm afraid of judgment. And then they say, why don't you get out more often? Why don't you speak up? And you remember the LA street 3 times you tried as a series of miserable disasters and you just lock up again. And now you understand the Japanese phenomenon of hikikomori. Does alcoholism counts? Having a lot of doubt about things. For example, if a girl really likes me, or how when I am upset I tend to have a short fuse and love to give everyone a piece of my mind. I make really irrational decisions. Heck, sometimes I know that what I'm making a terrible choice, but I do it anyway because I want to see the consequences. Being blunt and short-tempered. It makes very explosive and aggressive on other people very easily. Being too caring about others. It makes me unnecessarily worried and people can very much take advantage of that. I procrastinate. Way too much. I'm too loud. I talk too loud. My mind wanders off. I can't sit still in any chair. I have a huge imagination that won't sit still. You ever gotten tested for ADHD? I try to help and be funny all the time, but I keep messing up. I go with the flow, have way too high of a tolerance for bullshit, and I'm patient to a fault. I've stayed in ridiculous relationships for too long. I've been taken advantage of. I've been a doormat. I've just kinda drifted my way into outrageous situations and been charming and lucky enough to weasel my way out relatively unscathed. It's held me back. I know that. Now I try to set a lower bar before I start speaking my mind. Sometimes yeah, still gotta have a good freak out. I am very apathetic with a king complex, but am also afraid of failure. I very rarely actually care what people say about me to me near me. But at the same time I also feel like I know more than anyone around me and think that my way is best, and the only thing stopping me is that I don't want to F it up and have it on my head. So I sit back and only let people know my opinion when they ask. Being introverted, this has hurt me socially and professionally. Yeah, but also every time I get a performance review that mentions contributing more to team culture or being more present at social events, I want to throw a tantrum. BCWTF does going to happy hour have to do with my GD job performance? I've always been stubborn and find it difficult to accept fault. Usually results in me deflecting blame for everything and anything. That's a trait of narcissism. If you're the victim or the hero, but never the villain. The good news is, you're aware of it, and that's a start. Being able to powerfully and confidently accept blame for your mistakes is liberating, and makes you look stronger, not weaker. Maybe you're surrounded by inept morons and it isn't your fault. I use humor to deal with my emotions and anxiety a lot of times, and sometimes have trouble turning it off. There have been so many situations in my life where I know I have annoyed other people because I can't stop joking around at times where I should be serious. Same. I am referred to as Chandler Bing all the time. Mercy. Too much. Or a lack of? Too much. Being too trusting. Edit. I had someone steal $20 out of my purse at work, and because I thought it would be safe to bring my purse in from the car. It's hard because I don't want to turn into a cold-hearted bitch. I have to find the line, I guess. I get very easily swept off my feet by a girl. 2 terrible relationships that went on long after I became miserable because I was determined these girls were meant for me later. I hope I can learn better in the future. Getting triggered easily. I think I have gotten somewhat better at keeping my chill though, but I got into some nasty arguments before. Ignorance just makes me really angry. I constantly have the fear that people are my friends out of pity or some other BS. I also overthink, pretty much, everything I say. As a result of the first one, I'm constantly saying you don't have to if you don't want to or something like that whenever I ask my friends to hang, even though they constantly are saying that they want to and that I'm good. As a result of the second one, I've had virtually no relationships and constantly deleting chats. Big goof, but whatever. Hitting that F it button. When I'm stressed or sad, I'll make bad decisions that will make me feel better in the moment, but in the long term I know aren't good. My big mouth. If someone annoys me, I'll talk so much crap to them, blurting out things I don't mean to be heard when I'm too sleepy tired. For example, I once told a friend who often complained about his dad that he had a SH dad. Too trusting. Doormat. Deadpan sarcasm and deliver. Moving to a new country where everyone has a different sense of humor, it's gotten me in serious trouble at work more than once. Gross procrastination, and it's pretty much set me back in all areas of life slightly. I can't take a compliment. Even if I'm flattered, I do everything to downplay the sentiments, and I can obviously see it's frustrating or upsetting for the individual who took the time to compliment me. It's been pointed out more and more recently, and I just can't stop. Honestly, I think it's because it makes me feel very vulnerable. That, and I already suffer from self-worth issues like many other people, so that just further complicates matters.